Yep, here we are. So I hope that you guys have a very fun time for your Chinese New Year. And welcome back to CS2102. Personally, I want to apologize to all the lecturers that I should talk to that uses Zoom to deliver lecture badly because I tried it 2 times just now. It was very difficult to deliver content via Zoom. So if I communicate if I deliver it quite like vaguely or you guys do not understand anything, make sure to you can just feel free to unmute yourself or type your question in the chat. Okay, it's actually very difficult. So if you have any questions, just feel free to ask. Without further ado, let's get started. Yeah. Okay. Welcome to tutorial 4 for our CS2102 database systems. Today we'll be learning about nested queries mainly, and just to tell you guys, right, some sneak peeks. A lot of our queries, even in real life or in exams, a lot of them are related to nested queries. So I would say that it's very important. It's an important concept. And I would say that there are some questions that will be guaranteed to be tested in your finals or in your midterms. All right. Okay. So now let's start with our first question. No, let's start with our schema. So let's take a look. Oh,
Yes.
let me mute. Okay. All right. So let's take a look at our schema. So the schema is the same for our for our first and our second tutorial. It's exactly the same schema and everything. All right. So now give some, let's have some refresher for our aggregate functions. Okay. So let's look at this. We have this select here. Okay. We have this group by, and we have this aggregate function here. Aggregate function, huh? All right. So here's the thing. Group by a column. When we use aggregate function, it always follow with a group by clause. Okay. Almost always. So if your aggregate function doesn't have this group by, well, I'll say that 90% of the time is wrong. Okay. Here's another thing. Here's another thing to note. Another tip lah. If let's take a look at this select clause, right? Let's take a look at this select. We have this column and you have this function. If we are using some aggregate function and we want to select some particular columns, we must include it in our group by. What does this mean? This means that if we have some particular column, let's say C1, not inside our group by, it is impossible for us to put it inside our select clause. Okay? Get it? Got it? If our group by doesn't have this particular column, it is impossible, almost impossible for us to put it inside our select clause. Okay? Okay, so some other functions, some other aggregate functions that is more common is count, sum, maximum, minimum, and average. This should be very intuitive. Okay? Okay. Right, let's move on to our first question. Question 1A. How many loans involve an owner and a borrower from the same department? Personally, I like to think it this way. I would like to kind of predict or kind of think, how does this result look like? What the result actually looks like. So now we have this thing, we have this how many loans involve an owner and a borrower from the same department. So from this question, I kind of know that it's actually the answer, the result would be a single number, a single digit, which looks like this here. So the answer is this. Okay, this should be simpler because it is still not nested query yet. But I actually have something to tell you guys. If you look at this, you'll see there are two student table here, S1 and S2 in the query. I still remember that there were some students ask me like, is it possible to not have this table S2 here? Can we just use S1 here instead of S2? Okay, let's take a look, right? If you only use one S1 table, student S1 table, it means that the owner is s1.email and the borrower is s1.email. What does this mean? This means that the owner and the borrower is the same person. And this is not what we want. This is not the question asking. Okay? So in this case, we need two student tables. Yeah. Okay. Shouldn't be too difficult because it's something that we learned earlier. Okay, now let's move on to question 1b. For each faculty, print the number of loans that involve an owner and a borrower from this faculty. Okay, for each faculty. So for each faculty, we want to print all the counts here. We have this faculty, this faculty, this faculty, this faculty. Okay, here's another tip for you guys that actually I found it very useful. Uh, especially for midterm, especially for midterm. So if you encounter any questions that has this thing called for each here, it is very likely, I would say it's very likely that you are grouped by the following column. Okay, let me repeat. Okay, if you encounter for each in the question followed by the column, it's very likely that this column will be placed inside our group by. Okay, got it? So, for example, if it's your project, it'll be for each biker. Then, if it's for each biker, then I'll group it by biker. Or maybe for each stage, print the winner of the stage. Then it will be wait no, for each stage, uh, print the number of riders that participate in the stage. Then group by the stage instead. All right. So here's the key for you guys. Okay. Now we want to print the number of loans that involve an owner and borrower from this faculty. And the answer looks like this. Okay, just 1B right now. Okay. Do you guys have any questions? If you guys have any questions, just unmute yourself or just type in the chat. Okay. If you guys don't have any questions, then I have questions for you. All right. So let's take a look at this query here. Okay. We have this select department name count all from employees grouped by department. The question that I would like to ask you is, does this actually work? Okay, does this query actually works? No, okay, yes. No, why does this doesn't work? Okay, but why? Hmm, okay. As I mentioned earlier, okay, good question, not good question. Good answer, good answer. So as I mentioned earlier, we have a name here, right? And as I mentioned, if you want to put something, we want to select something which has a group by, then it must be included inside the group by. Okay? All right. So uh so if next time you want to select something, remember to put it inside our group by here. Okay? With name here. Okay? So how can we fix this? We have two solutions. The first solution is that we have is that we just remove the name completely. Okay? You just remove the name completely. Okay? Give me a second here. Okay. All right, let's continue. Okay, the first solution is that you just remove the name. Without the name, this query will work definitely. And the second solution is the one that I mentioned. We just include the name in our group by here. Okay, so for our solution two, we'll actually encounter this later in our tutorial later. So here's a little sneak peek for you guys lah. Okay, okay, all right. Just like what I mentioned, a group by query fails to compile when the select clause contains column that are neither aggregated nor included in the group by clause. Just like what I mentioned. Select something
Okay, yes.
group by something. Okay? So just try to remember this. My suggestion is that you can try running this in your Postgres, look at the error, and then so that when the next time similar issue happens, when you look at the error, you understand that okay, I forgot to add the clause. I forgot to add the column in the group by. Okay, this is quite useful, especially in exam in your midterm. Right? Okay, now let's move on to question 1C. What is the average and the standard duration of the duration of a loan in days? So this is the answer. Okay, so we have this standard deviation. Okay, average you guys already know. It's quite common. And this standard deviation POP, what does this POP mean? This POP means population. Okay, so if you want to find the standard deviation of a sample, then we'll use the ones on the right corner, standard deviation sample. Okay, if you take a deeper look into our query here, you realize that, wait a minute, I have seen this before, right? You feel like this thing is quite familiar. And that's right. Why? Because this thing is actually the highlighted part. This thing is actually our duration from tutorial 2, question 1C. Okay? So what can we do is that instead of listing it out separately, so let's take a look. We are repeating this. So we have one here, and we have another here. But essentially, they're both the same. Is there a way to simplify this? Yep, the answer is yes. We can rename it as our duration. Okay, so after renaming it, this is how it looks like. We got an S duration here. Okay, both answers are acceptable. If this nested query approach is too complicated for you, it's totally fine to use to write to come up with the previous answer. Okay. Right. Before we move further, I also like to kind of give you some tip on when to use the in clause. But the key is that we use this keyword in instead of equals when the condition is a set or a list or when we are doing subquery. So let's just take a look at the examples, shall we? Let's say we want to select orders where the ID, customer ID, should be 101 or 102 or 103. Well, if the ID, we only have three IDs that's acceptable, of course you can write it just like the one here, just like this one. We can just list out every single possible ID. Oops. We can just list out all the single possible ID here, right? But what if you want to accept all the IDs? Let's say I want the ID, customer ID starting from 100 to 200. It's impossible for us to write everything, right? So to simplify to ease to simplify our life, okay, we can use this keyword we call it as in. Okay. One of the way that we use is that we use it as a set or a list. And the second way, which is more common, is we use it in a subquery, or we call it as a nested query at the bottom here. Okay, here. Nested query or subquery is very common in 2102, so it's a very important concept for you guys to learn. Okay, that being said, there's another thing that I would like to tell you guys, which is the equivalence. In a column, in value 1, value 2, value 3, let's say it's 101, 102, 103, okay? This one will be 101, 102, 103. Okay, so if you see this in, it's actually equivalent to this equals any. Same goes to this not in, is equivalence to lesser, greater, or it's totally the same. So if in exam you forgot in, just use equals any. If you forgot lesser or greater all, you can just use not in. Okay? In finals, they might test you this as well. So try to remember it. Okay? Important concept. With that being said, let's move on to our question 2A. Print the titles of the different books that have never been borrowed. So, if you guys still remember, we have the same question in our second tutorial. And the way that we solve this is by using this thing called a set. What is this? This is a set operation. I still remember there was this student who asked me like, is there any other way a set besides using set operation? And uh, the answer is yes, there actually are solutions for that. And here are two solutions for you guys. The first one is using not in, and the second one is using lesser or greater than all. Essentially, these two are the same lah, huh? So the idea is that I want to find the book that's not inside the loan. Makes sense, right? Okay. Now let's move on to 2B. We want to print the name of the different students who own a copy of a book that they have never lent to anybody. Okay. So how do we do this? Okay, how do we do this? The idea is very simple. You just want to find the copies that have never been lent out. So what are copies that have never been loaned out? If a book have been loaned out, then there definitely will be loan records, right? So if a book doesn't have any loan records, it means that the copy has never been lent out at all. After you find the copies, we just select the owners who owns this copy. So that's the idea behind it. The queue will look something like this. Okay, so we just not exist, and this is the book. Okay, now step two, we want to find the owners of those copies. Wait, oh, owners, which is this part. Okay, so this is the step one and step two. Uh, so this step one and step two is not fixed. So if it's easier for you to start with step two, start with finding the owners first, just start with step two. But personally, normally what I do is that I start from the nested query. So I start from this part, from the nested query, then I select something from the nested query. That's my way to do it, but it's totally fine for you to not follow it. All right, just do whatever you're comfortable with. Okay. Another thing is that if you look at this, you realize that there's this thing which is called the tuple. This thing only works on Postgres. So if you are using MySQL or SQLite, this thing doesn't work at all. All right. Okay, so now let's go to 2C. For each department, print the names of the student who lend the most. All right. So what does it mean? Lend the most. I want to print the name of the students, right? So we have this student who lends the most than all the remaining students. Okay. Okay, yeah. So how can we do it? The idea is that we want to find the count of this. Okay, oh no, actually, you know what? I'll explain it in another way. For all these students, we'll find the maximum count. Okay, so after we find the maximum count, we'll find the student who has the same maximum count as this. Okay, so the idea is that we find we want to find the student who has the biggest count from the remaining students. Oh, okay. For tuple check, does okay? The minting check, right? Somebody asked for the tuple check. Does column name matter or just the column order? It should be the column order. Well, okay. You know what? Let's take a look back. Um, yeah, should be the column order. Okay. Okay. All right. So let's continue with our question. So having this idea already, right? You just follow it. So first of all, you just find all the students. So this part is the remaining students, right? You just find the count, and we have this one student that having the count more than the remaining students. Okay, got it? This is a student here. Okay, here's another question for you guys to ponder. Can we use limit in this case? Let's say I just want to select everything and I put, and then I will just find, then just like limit, maybe limit one. Technically, limit one may be correct, but it may be wrong as well. Why? Because there may be multiple person who has the same maximum count. Okay, let's say all these students has uh has lent 10 books, 3 students. So if you use the limit one, so if you use the limit one, we could only find one of them instead of all of them, instead of 3 of them, instead of all of them. So in this case, limit is not encouraged here. The best way is to use this more than all. This concept is very important. Please memorize it if you don't understand it. Okay? How to understand it? This will be tested in your exam. If not midterm, then it will be finals. Okay? Important, huh? More than all. Okay. Another thing is that s dot name, as I mentioned, uh, okay, s dot name here. S dot email, student email is actually the primary key. So this thing has already goodbye everything already. Even without this s dot name, the result would be totally identical. But why do we need the s dot name here? As I mentioned, the reason why we need s dot name here is because our select clause need it. So there's no way if we want s dot name here in a group by query, we have to include it in our group by clause. And that's the main reason why we are adding this s dot name here. Okay, if we don't need s dot name, let's say we need only s dot email. Okay, s dot email. In this case, we can totally safely remove this and it will be totally fine. All right. The reason why we need s dot name in a group by is because we want it, we want to put it in our select clause. Okay, yeah. All right, now moving on to question 2D. Print the emails and names of different students who borrowed all the books authored by Alan Smith. Okay, the idea is using double negation. Okay, we only have 3 minutes left, so I'm gonna speed up. If I manage to not complete it within time, then just use the same link and return. Okay, okay. The idea is using this double negation. Borrow all books. What does it mean? It means that there are no books that I have not borrowed. I've borrowed all the books, which also means that there not exist any books that I have not borrowed, which is also equivalent to there not exist any book, and for that book, I have no loan record. Then okay, which is equivalent to there not exist any book, and for that book, there not exist any loan record under my name. Okay, you see, there are two not exist here already. One for the book and one for the loan. Okay, now we have this idea. We can construct the query. And the query looks like this. Okay, just like what I mentioned, just like what I mentioned, there are two not exist, right? One of them is here. Okay, and the other one is here. Okay. Okay, here's the thing. This is a very typical universal quantifier formula. If you do not understand the logic behind this, my suggestion is that just memorize it. Okay? If you don't understand, just memorize it. I can guarantee that this will be tested in your finals, if not midterms. Okay? Try to find a pattern and try to uh find a pattern and try to memorize it. How do you make it? You don't even actually have to memorize it because you have cheat sheet, right? Okay, let me draw the pattern for you. We got a book here. We got a loan here. Sorry, we got a loan here, and then we got a loan here, and then we have a book here, which is this one, and we have a student here, which is this one. Okay, guys, never mind. We have less than 1 minute, and definitely I couldn't finish it within 1 minute. So I'll end the meeting now, and then you guys just join back. Okay, this and not exist this. Okay, try to find the pattern. We got a book here. We got a book here. We got a loan here. Two loans here, and we got a student here and a student here. Just like what I mentioned, if the logic you don't understand logic, just memorize it. Okay. Um. Yeah. Yeah. That's it. I guess try to memorize it. Okay. Here's the thing. So when do we use this double negation? That's another key that I think is important. So we use it during this scenario where we want to find, we want to print something who has done all of something followed by a condition. Okay, condition here. So what does it mean? I will just give you some examples. Okay, I want to print all the riders, all the name of the riders who had won all the stages happening in France. Okay, we got a rider here, have won, have won all the stages, all, followed by a condition happening in France. Okay, all right. Maybe we want to find a rider who had maybe one or who had completed all the stages, completed all the stages within 2 hours. Okay, yeah, you can use this too. So the idea is that we want to find something who had done all followed by a condition. That's when we use this double negation, right? Okay, so that's it for the tutorial.